And I'd love to see your envious face, but I'm not that cruel. So, I'll let it be. It'd probably be awkward for you to see me, so why don't you hide in the bathroom or something? She laughed obnoxiously over the phone, mocking me. I detest this woman more than anyone in the world. No, in the universe. 13 years ago, she stole my husband from me. I'd love to cut ties, but that's difficult because, sadly, this woman is my biological sister. I held the phone to my ear for a moment, then let out a small chuckle after she hung up on me. My name is Ruth, a 37-year-old divorcee. My marriage fell apart in just 6 months, all because of my villainous sister. I have an identical twin sister named Rachel. Even our longtime friends mistake us for each other because we look so much alike. However, despite our similar appearance, our personalities are completely different. I'm the quiet type, while Rachel is active and tends to take charge of things. I excelled in academics, while Rachel shone in sports. Rachel's the type who blurts out whatever she's thinking. How can you wear such unstylish clothes? People are going to think I'm not stylish either since we're twins. That'll suck. As you can see, we don't get along. It wouldn't be so bad if it was just at home, but Rachel always brought trouble. Back in our school days, I often got harassed by girls from other schools on my way home. Hey, stop hitting on my boyfriend. Of course, I didn't even know them. Ah, not again, Rachel. Whenever Rachel found someone she was interested in, she wouldn't hesitate to snatch him away, even if he already had a girlfriend. I blamed the guys too, but Rachel was worse, and I, being mistaken for her, was a victim too. Moreover, she seems to lose interest once she gets the guy, sometimes breaking up in as short as a week. It's unbelievable. Rachel, you need to stop this nonsense. Have you ever thought about how the other girls feel? I'm suffering too. She responded, unattractive women's jealousy is scary. Anyway, your guy John, right? He's so dull. I doubt he'll cheat on you. Don't worry, I have no interest in him. He's not hot at all. She talked down about my boyfriend. This man named John is the despicable ex-husband who dumped me without a second thought. 13 years ago, we got close because we went to the same tutoring center. He was rather quiet and made me feel at ease. His mother was a fortune teller, well known for her accurate readings. She even ran a fortune-telling house. We graduated from the same university and decided to get married 2 years later. I thought I would spend my life with this man, but 6 months after our marriage, John placed the divorce papers in front of me and said, "Please divorce me. I can't take it anymore, and I'm sure you know why." Sitting next to him was my sister Rachel with a smug look on her face. Taken by surprise, I stammered, "Ha! I'm sorry, I don't understand. Did I do something? I don't remember doing anything wrong." John banged his fist on the desk and shouted, "Really? How do you have the audacity? You've been cheating on me. Can you still deny it after seeing this?" On the desk were a few pictures showing a man and a woman entering a hotel together. But to me, it looked like I was being shown pictures of Rachel going into a hotel with some man I didn't know. I didn't understand what my ex-husband was saying at all. The man in the photo must have been just another one of Rachel's flings. No, this is Rachel, not me. At that moment, Rachel burst into tears and sobbed, "Stop this. I can't stand lying to John anymore." John turned to Rachel and said, "It's okay. You're so kind. Thank you. What am I looking at here?" John glared at me and started to spew a fabricated story that was simply unimaginable. According to him, I had been cheating, and to avoid being caught, I was constantly borrowing clothes from Rachel, spending my spare time at a hotel with my lover, and that I was a terrible woman. John had completely believed this ridiculous story that he'd heard from Rachel. "I heard from Rachel that you've always had a bad track record with men. Even when we were dating, you were playing around with several men." I responded to my furious ex-husband, "Are you seriously saying that, John? You've been with me for several years, and you believe a story from my sister, who you've only known for half a year. Are you sane? Are you an idiot?" Apparently, he didn't like my calm response because all he could do was glare at me. To my surprise, Rachel had the nerve to hit on John. "You may have the same face, but your personalities are completely different. You're not charming at all." Rachel always listens to my complaints with a smile. She's so patient. I might have married the wrong sister. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Rachel continued to fake her tears, but I could see her grin. Rachel had always been a player when it came to men since she was a student, but ever since she started working, she had changed the type of man she targeted. She now prioritized social status and money over looks, and John, my ex-husband, who worked at a major corporation and came from a moderately wealthy family, was a perfect target. She must have set her eyes on him from the time I introduced him at our wedding. My ex-husband had been completely fooled by my sister's poor acting. I never thought my ex-husband, whom I'd been with for so long, could be this naive, and I could feel my feelings towards him fade away rapidly. You two are despicable. Do as you please, but never show your face in front of me again. I felt tears welling up but managed to hold them back. I filled out the divorce papers on the spot and threw them at the two of them. Knowing my cunning sister, she and John probably hadn't started a physical relationship yet. Blaming compensation seemed tough. Still, if it meant those two would disappear from my life, I didn't care about the money anymore. When I returned to my parents' house after that, my parents were furious at my sister's behavior and disowned her. When asked about her reaction, she said, "Oh, really? I don't care, but if you're having money trouble, they'll come begging to me." Okay, bye then, making light of even her own parents. I found out from a friend that my ex-husband and my sister got married just 3 months later. I was so stunned I couldn't even cry. I felt nothing at all. For 13 years since then, I haven't seen my sister and her husband, but one day I got a call from a public phone. On my cell phone, I always answer calls for work, so I answered and heard, hello, Ruth." I immediately recognized the voice on the other end of the phone. "I don't know how you have the nerve to call me Rachel." At my words, Rachel chuckled and said, "Are you still holding a grudge? You're always so gloomy, Ruth. But whatever, I have a favor to ask." Without showing any remorse for what happened, she continued, "I'm pregnant. Oh, of course, the father is John, who you love so much. Haha. So, I wanted to let our parents know about their first grandchild. They won't listen to me, so you tell them for me." She had the audacity to command me like that, so I retorted, "What are you so cheery about when you've been disowned?" But she just laughed it off. "How many years do you think it's been?" 13 years. "I think you're the only one who still holds a grudge. You're probably still living alone at our parents' house, am I right? I'm saying that I'll be the one to give them a grandchild instead of you." She was always the best at irritating people. "I'd love to see your envious face, but I'll spare you because it's too pathetic. It'll be awkward when you see me, so why don't you hide in the bathroom or something?" she said, laughing out loud while I remained silent. Then she hung up abruptly after saying she would come over on the weekend. I kept the phone to my ear for a while after the call ended and chuckled. That weekend, as I was relaxing in the backyard, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen and saw a blocked number. It was probably my sister. I answered the phone, already annoyed. "Hey, unblock me already." I snapped back, "What's wrong with blocking someone I don't want to receive calls from? That's what call blocking is for." "Oh, maybe you don't understand because you're stupid." Haha. I laughed sarcastically. I heard something break. Perhaps she was irritated. "I've come all this way. Why is nobody home? I told you I'd come today, didn't I?" "Huh? You were serious. I thought you were joking. Besides, you hung up before I could tell you I don't live there anymore." Judging by my sister's enraged and slightly shaky voice, it seemed she was standing in front of the house we used to live in. However, none of us lived there anymore. She was making so much noise and causing such a commotion that it was likely to be a nuisance to the neighbors. So I gave her my current address and hung up the phone. After waiting for about an hour, the doorbell rang. There stood a sullen-faced Rachel and John, my ex-husband. The first thing she blurted out was, "You got some nerve. And what is this place? Why on earth would someone like you be living in such a nice apartment?" She glared at me, her eyes bloodshot with anger. It's no surprise my sister was shocked. This place is relatively new and located in a good area. The rent isn't cheap either. While it may not be a luxury high-rise, it's a pretty decent property. Ignoring the worked-up Rachel, I said, "The neighbors won't like all this noise. Why don't you come inside?" Upon showing her into the room, she seemed taken aback by its size. Seeing her frustrated face, I couldn't help but smirk. Our mother, who I live with, was sitting on the couch silently observing my sister. "Well, you said you had something to discuss. I don't mind at all. But if I'm in the way, should I hide in the bathroom or something?" I remarked sarcastically. "Never mind, I'm good," Rachel snapped back. She moved closer to her mother and nervously said, "Hi, Mom. Long time no see. I'm pregnant. That's why today we wanted to discuss if it's possible for John and me to stay here for a while." At my sister's audacious request, I nearly burst into laughter, blurting out, "Wait, you want me to live with you guys? No way. Have you forgotten what you did to me in the past? Absolutely not. Cutting me off, Rachel said, Ruth, just shut up. This house is still under Dad's name, right? You can't even get remarried and you're still leeching off our parents. How pathetic for a single woman like you. Then she added, great job taking care of our folks. From now on, John and I will live here and take care of them. So can you leave? Oh, where's Dad? Is he at work? After seeing my sister speaking with a smug grin, I had reached my limit. However, it was our mother who spoke up first. She said quietly, Dad's gone. He passed away. Mom only muttered those few words. My parents were very serious people and had always apologized to me about my divorce 13 years ago despite it all being Rachel's fault. My father especially used to say, I should have. Maybe it was my fault for not raising her better. I'm sorry, Ruth. I'm really sorry. He became increasingly depressed to the point where he found it hard to continue working. At that time, both of my parents were in their early 50s and we were surviving on my income and Mom's part-time job. A while later, my father was diagnosed with cancer and passed away 10 years ago. Just before he died, he said, Don't tell Rachel anything. I don't think I'll make it to heaven if she comes to my funeral. Just as he said, Mom and I didn't contact my sister Rachel. We moved into this house about 5 years ago because Mom had injured her leg due to overworking. We considered renovating our old house, but it was built on top of a hill, and we thought it would be too hard for Mom to walk up the hill. Since we started living in this accessible home, Mom said her legs have been feeling much better. I tried to speak calmly, but the thought of our late dad made me want to burst out crying. It must have been the same for Mom, as there were tears in her eyes. Rachel's reaction to my words was, in a sense, predictable. Too little, too late. Besides, it's not my fault Dad got sick. In fact, you're living in such a nice place now because of Dad's inheritance, right? That's not fair. What about my share? Didn't I have the right to inherit? She blurted out such nonsense. Without missing a beat, Mom shot back, inheritance. There's no such thing. You only came to us when you were in trouble for doing stupid things before your marriage. How many times do you think we paid alimony because you messed around with a married man? Live with you? Never. You must be joking. Don't be ridiculous. It was the first time both Rachel and I had seen Mom so enraged. Sensing the tension, Rachel fell silent. Then John, who had been quiet like a puppet until now, said, Rachel, you've been deceiving me, haven't you? Ever since I married you, my life's been a mess. You're a reckless spender. You don't do any housework. I had the opportunity to meet some guys who graduated from the same high school as you, and they all said I was blind to marry you. I nearly burst out laughing at my ex-husband's words. He's quite something to have put up with her for 13 years. Moreover, when he approached me, he said, Ruth, I've been regretting our divorce. Do you want to start over? Let's let bygones be bygones. When he tried to touch me softly, I felt a chill run down my spine. No way. Please let bygones be bygones. Who does he think he is? Is he stupid? It's not his place to say that. Just as I was about to dodge him, the door to the next room burst open. Could you not touch her with your dirty hands, please? A man suddenly appeared, and both were taken aback, ignoring Rachel, who murmured, Who is he? I said, I told you to stay hidden because I didn't want to involve you. At my words, he replied, I couldn't stand it when he tried to touch you, Ruth. Besides, I think having a third party will help the discussion, don't you think? Okay. This is my husband, Alex. And Tony, come here. This is our son, Tony. He's 8 years old. I called out to Tony, who had been peeping from behind the door. He had probably overheard some of the argument, and he was now glaring at Rachel and her husband. Ha! You're remarried. Unbelievable. Rachel's shock was palpable, and John looked equally stunned, his mouth hanging open. Why wouldn't I be? I replied, my tone laced with sarcasm. It's been 13 years. You'd think people would move on. It's surprising that despite all this time, you both haven't changed a bit. But you do look like you've aged quite a lot. Their faces flushed with anger at my words. I met Alex shortly after my father passed away. We were colleagues, and one day he asked me out. When I initially turned him down, saying I was a divorcee, he responded, Does being divorced mean you can't remarry? He asked me out again, and we were married a year later. Tony was born the following year. Alex treats my mother with great kindness and doesn't mind us living together. My in-laws, who live with Alex's brother and his wife, have assured me, we're glad you're here for Alex. Alex was the one who suggested we move to our current house, concerned about my mother's mobility. Turning to the stunned Rachel and John, I said, "My mother and I are living our lives here. Please don't disrupt us." "And Rachel, you mentioned you're pregnant. How far along are you?" From their flustered responses, it became clear that Rachel was likely lying about the pregnancy. I had been married to John for only 6 months and never got pregnant, which often drew snide comments from my former mother-in-law. If Rachel isn't pregnant, then it's probably another one of her fabrications. Rachel seemed to be managing well with her difficult mother-in-law. Unable to endure the harsh glares from my family, they quickly left. I'd heard stories, but is she really your sister? She looks like you, but her character. Anyway, it's settled for now, Alex said with a wry smile, to which I responded with a thin smile of my own. Really? That evening, the doorbell rang incessantly. I glanced at the monitor and sighed. "They're back," I muttered. When I opened the door, there stood Rachel and John, their faces ashen. "We need help. Can you lend us some money?" they pleaded, kneeling in desperation. My husband looked confused, but my mother and I were less sympathetic. Earlier in the day, while we were waiting for Rachel's call, Mom had received a call from one of my deceased father's friends, who now rents our old home. When I returned home, I was shocked to find the garden in disarray. Flower buds were trampled, and the windows were cracked. Security footage revealed the culprits, Rachel and John. Rachel, visibly enraged, had stomped on the flower beds and thrown stones at the windows. On a phone call with me, Mom had given Rachel's contact information to Dad's friend, which only fueled Rachel's anger further. To her dismay, she turned out to be the daughter who had caused so much grief to her father over the years. The damaged garden contained rare, hard-to-grow flowers, and they would likely demand compensation. Given their evident financial struggles, I had anticipated they might return. Their audacity was impressive, but not entirely surprising. "I can offer you some money, but there's one condition," I said as I watched them leave. Their shoulders hunched in defeat. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. They were holding a written pledge I had just made them sign, agreeing to never approach me again in exchange for my responsibility for the incident. Despite Rachel being my sister, it's hard to sever ties completely. I expect she might use her connections or authorities to try and reach me again. If that happens, I'm prepared. I have the audio recordings I secretly made 13 years ago as evidence. I have no intention of forgiving Rachel and John, not now or ever. Later, I learned from a friend that my ex-husband had left his high-paying job at the corporation right after our divorce. He took up a position at a fortune-telling establishment run by my former mother-in-law. The job came with a generous salary due to their family connection, and he and Rachel had been living comfortably. However, a few months ago, my former mother-in-law passed away suddenly. Lacking any skill in fortune-telling, my ex-husband took over the business, but it soon failed. Desperate, the couple tried to deceive the loyal customers by claiming that a bracelet they were selling was a cherished heirloom from the late mother. When their deceit was exposed by a whistleblower, the victims formed a group and began demanding justice. Rachel and John, now without a home or source of income, turned to me for help. Their audacity was infuriating. However, with the police involved, it was clear that their day of reckoning was near. Soon after, we relocated due to Alex's job transfer. Mom, initially hesitant, asked, "Can I really come along?" To which Alex responded with a warm laugh, "Of course. You're a vital part of our family. Even if you tried to resist, I'd carry you over my shoulder and bring you with us." Alex's playful remark brought tears of gratitude to Mom's eyes. "Grandma, you're crying again?" Tony said, offering her a Kleenex. Despite his concern, he managed to smile. Watching my family, I felt overwhelmed with gratitude for the happiness and support we shared.